So for the entry, there are two types, which I've already covered, but I will cover them again. So the first one is when we have our condition, we have our drawn liquidity, whatever, and we don't have any fair value gaps in the retrace, and we just need a big, huge candle, like inversing some of these candles, inversing, like basically just showing we want to get out of there, right? That's the first. And the second one is if we have fair value gaps in this retrace, then we want to wait for price to disrespect them. Let me try to find a good example. Okay. Okay, so it's not the best example, but I think you will understand what I mean. So right here we have a fair value gap. We also have a retracement into a condition, right? Disregarding that this is PM session and whatever. So we have our condition. Let's say our drawn liquidity is like this low. So we have our drawn on liquidity down here. We have our condition, right? Price taps into the condition, boom, and now price is rejecting the condition. And here we have a fair value gap. So in this instance, we would need to wait for price to inverse this fair value gap, right? So on the candle closing beyond it, that's our entry. So this instance is pretty ass. Why? Because these candles coming out of the fair value gap are like super small compared to the move up into the fair value gap. So let me try to find like a better example for you guys. This is Asia. Okay, here we have a nice looking trend. Let's see if we can find anything. No. Okay, so like this one. This is a perfect example. So let's say our drawn liquidity is around this level. Or yeah, we could even take like this low. That's our drawn liquidity, right? We already have that. And now we just wait for our condition, which will be here. Disregard all of this chop and just imagine it's like a nice looking trend from here, like down, up, and then where we are now in price. So we have this condition. Also disregard that we did close above it. So we have this condition, and now all we're waiting for is like price, rejecting our condition. And since we have a fair value gap on the retrace, as you can see right here, we want to wait for price to close and inverse that fair value gap. And it does so beautiful here, and you see that these candles are pretty strong, like out of the condition. Like it's a strong candle in, but it's also strong candles out, and we inverse this condition, like the fair value gap right here that we created on the retrace. So that's like a pretty good entry, and you just target your, drawn liquidity. So those are like the two different types of entry confirmations. The first one being when we don't have a fair value gap and we just want to see like a huge candle out of the condition, or when we have a fair value gap and we want to see huge candles out of the condition, but also the need to close beyond the fair value gap that we created the way to our like condition, like to this fair value gap, right? So we want to see huge candles out of it, but we also want to see them close beyond this fair value gap that was created on the retrace. And a very important thing is you never want to enter if price, you know, goes beyond this point. So for example, let's say this candle, you know, closed below here. You don't want to enter below that low that, you know, made a retrace, if that makes sense. Let me try to find a good example for you guys. Oh, yeah, I know a good example. Like Monday was a very good example. Yeah, right here. So, for example, here we have our condition, right? And we have, let's just say our draw is like around this level or whatever. Here we have our condition. We have the fair value gap, right? Boom. I even believe it was a fair value gap on the 5 minutes. So let me just see if that's actually, no, it was not. Okay, so we have a condition, right? And we have our little retrace. But you see the candle out of the condition is very strong, which is good. It's good. But it closed beyond this point, right? So you wouldn't want to take that, because then you're basically longing off the high, and we never want to be longing off the high. Because why? Well, usually when price, you know, closes above this high, that's when we go break even. And that's why you never want to, you know, take a trade like this, because then you can't go break even, if that makes sense. Because the general rule is when price, you know, displaces away from this high, like this high right here, we don't want to, or that's when we want to go break even, right? So if you take something like this, you're longing off the high, and it leaves you much more vulnerable and open to way more risk, if that makes sense. So this was kind of a longer video, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys get it. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.